Hello students, today I am going to explain you about the RAS pathway or the renin angiotensin aldosterone pathway. Okay. Now first and foremost, I'll tell you that what is the purpose of this pathway. Okay. What is the purpose of RAS? Now RAS pathway, it takes place inside our body in intention to regulate regulate the blood pressure, regulate the blood pressure and blood volume. Okay. Now, the full form of this RAS is renin, as you can see over here, that I've written over here, renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Okay, so the full form of RAS is renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Now, firstly, I would like to explain it to you that what is renin. Okay, what is actually renin? Now, renin is actually, it is an enzyme. Okay, it is an enzyme which is secreted by the kidney. Now, from where does this enzyme get secreted? That is actually from the juxtaglomerular cells. Okay, so renin is an enzyme which is secreted from the juxtaglomerular cells of kidney. Okay. Now, children, to understand this much better, I think that I will brief a little bit upon this juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay. Now, juxtaglomerular apparatus, I'll just show you a picture. Okay. So let's have this picture over here. Now, as you can see over here, that this is juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay. Now, itself the juxtaglomerular apparatus, it is comprising of, as you can see over here, that it is actually comprising of the afferent arteriole, the efferent arteriole, and the distal convoluted tubule, a part of the distal convoluted tubule. Okay, or you can also say the end of the nephron loop. Okay, the end of the nephron loop, that is, you know, that the loop of Henle, the loop of Henle part, as it is just forming the distal convoluted tubule, during that time it passes through a region where it meets the afferent and the efferent arteriole. Okay, so let me just mention it over here. Juxtaglomerular, G-L-O-M-E-R-U-L-A-R, juxtaglomerular apparatus, APPARATUS. Juxtaglomerular apparatus is a device, DEVICE, is a device for monitoring, the fluid, entering the distal convoluted tubule, or we can write distal convoluted tubule, or we can just write DCT. Okay, distal convoluted tubule. It is, juxtaglomerular apparatus is a device for monitoring the fluid entering the distal convoluted tubule and adjusting the performance of nephron, of the nephron. Okay, clear children? So what we are seeing, that this, what is it? The juxtaglomerular apparatus. It is supposed to be a device which we are finding to be organized within the kidney. And this device, it is a fluid monitoring machinery. Okay, fluid monitoring machinery, that is like it is monitoring the fluid which is entering the distal convoluted tubule. Okay, and it is adjusting the performance of the nephron. So hence it is made up of this juxtaglomerular apparatus will be made up of, what is it made up of? Just now, as I've told you, it is made up of three things. Okay, that is, first thing I'll say, it is made up of afferent arterioles, A-F-F-E-R-E-N-T, afferent arterioles. Next, I'll say efferent arterioles. Afferent arterioles means the arteriole which is entering the glomerulus, okay, which is entering the nephron malphigian, which is entering the malphigian corpuscle. Okay, so and it is actually, it is just forming, it is about to form the glomerulus. Okay, and the one which is the arteriole which is exiting the glomerular this thing networking system, that will be known as the efferent arteriole. Okay, that will be known as the efferent arteriole. Okay, fine, understood. So hence we are finding that this afferent arteriole, efferent arteriole, and the third thing that I'll tell you, that is the end portion. Okay, that is the end of the nephron loop. Okay, the third portion I'll tell you, the end of nephron loop. Okay, that means when the loop of Henle is ending and it is just forming the distal convoluted tubule. Okay, so now what happens is like this. In this glomerular apparatus, okay, the juxtaglomerular apparatus, there are three specialized cells which are found in this juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, so I'll write there are three specialized cells found in the, or rather I'm just writing in this region. Okay, in the juxtaglomerular apparatus. What are those three specialized cells? One I'm mentioning, it is the macula densa. Okay, macula densa. Now in this picture, children, if you observe over here, these cells, okay, like these cells which we are finding over here, see, these cells, they are actually the macula densa. So I've marked it over here, like as you can see, these particular cells, these cells which are here, they are the macula densa. Okay, fine. So what is this macula densa? So they are a patch of very thin, like you can see over here that the macula densa cells are thinner than the remaining cells. As if you observe over here, let's see that these cells, these are thicker, isn't it so? These are thicker, but these cells are comparatively, you see, thinner. These are much thinner, right? So macula densa, what will we say? That macula densa, these are patch of slender, closely spaced epithelial cells. Slender, closely placed epithelial cells. Okay, slender, closely placed epithelial cells. Okay, occurring at the end of the loop. Okay, understood? And it is facing towards the arterioles. Okay, so I'll write facing towards the arterioles. Clear? Okay, so that So far we have understood what is actually macula densa. Now, what is the function of this macula densa? Now, when your fluid, the fluid is passing, okay, that what fluid? The tubular fluid, okay. When the tubular fluid is passing through this macula densa, the tubular fluid is passing through the this particular portion of the tubule, okay, the tubular fluid which is passing through this portion of the tubule, the macula densa cells, okay, that means again I'm mentioning these particular cells, okay, like these ones which I'm marking now, these particular cells, they can sense the composition of the fluid, okay. So they will be able to understand how much of salt is there in the fluid, how much concentrated is the fluid. So all this type of informations they are able to understand, that is the macula densa cells are able to understand, and hence like they can gather the information and judge upon the quality of the fluid itself. The macula densa children, they will be having some chemoreceptors, okay, in them, which is enabling them to judge the characteristic of the tubular fluid. Now, what is the function of macula densa? When they understand that the perhaps the blood volume has decreased, when they will understand that perhaps the blood volume has decreased, by understanding the composition of the tubular fluid, then what will they do? They will stimulate the granular cells. See over here, the granular cells are given. Okay. So what do we understand by the granular cells? So that is the next specialized cell which I am going to discuss. Okay. So I am going to write granular cells, or rather I'll use the word juxtaglomerular cells. Okay. Juxtaglomerular cells, as it is a cell of this juxtaglomerular apparatus, it is associated with it. So hence it is called the juxtaglomerular cells, or rather as it is very close to the glomerulus. Okay, so that's why we are saying juxtaglomerular cells, and these are also known as granular cells. Now what happens? These macula densa, they will stimulate the glomerular cells, and specifically these this juxtaglomerular cells, okay, they are they are enlarged smooth muscle cells. Okay, so what are actually the juxtaglomerular cells? They are enlarged smooth muscle cells. Okay, and where are they occurring? Just now, as I've told you, they are occurring on the afferent arteriole, as you can see over here. See the blue colored cells that you're finding, they are the juxtaglomerular cells or granular cells. They are occurring on the afferent arteriole mostly, and a partly we can find on the efferent arteriole also. I guess that if I enlarge the picture, you'll be able to understand. See, on the efferent arteriole also, you can find these. See, these are the granular cells. I think you can understand now. On the afferent arteriole, it is mostly found on the afferent arteriole, like this. It is mostly found. Okay. All the blue colored cells that you're finding, they are the juxtaglomerular cells. Okay, I hope it is clear to you. So now I'm again returning back to the writing portion. So what I'm saying, this juxtaglomerular cells, they are enlarged smooth muscle cells, okay, occurring, or rather I can use the word smooth muscle cells, found, Found, found mostly on the afferent arteriole, and partly on the efferent arteriole. Understood? Now by function, what we are going to say, these granular cells, when they are stimulated by macula densa, okay, the granular cells, when they are stimulated by the macula densa, then they will be secreting renin. Okay, so I'm writing the function with a different color. As I've told you, what is the function of the macula densa? They can perceive changes in tubular fluid. Okay, and when they find that perhaps the blood volume has decreased, they will stimulate JG or juxtaglomerular cells. Okay, and about the juxtaglomerular cells, what can we write? On stimulation, by macula densa, they secrete renin. Okay, clear? RENIN, renin. Okay, so hence what is renin? Renin is an enzyme which is secreted by the granular cells or the juxtaglomerular cells when the blood volume decreases or the blood pressure decreases. Now children, blood volume and blood pressure, they are directly proportional. If your blood volume decreases, then automatically your blood pressure will also decrease. Okay, clear? Now I'm going to speak about the third type of cells which is present in this juxtaglomerular apparatus, that is the mesangial cells. Okay, MESANGIAL, mesangial cells. Okay, now these mesangial cells I'll show you over here. These cells which you can see, I'm marking with yellow over here. Okay, so these cells that you can see, now they are sometimes they are called lattice cells also, you know, like because they give a lace like look, you know, as if a lace is over there, that if that type of a look as they give, that's why they are also called lattice cells. Now what is the function of the mesangial cells? Mesangial cells are mainly packaging, you know, they are basically they are present over there, okay, which is connected to the macula densa also, they are connected to the granular cells also. Hence we can say that they are mostly packaging. Okay, they are mostly packaging the area. That is the main function. Now here we have understood well about the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, now we are going to focus on this renin angiotensin system. Okay, just before that, I just want to write that mesangial cells, these are packaging, PACKAGING, packaging cells. Okay, just this much will be sufficient. Now I'm going to focus upon this RAS, or like I'll say that renin angiotensin aldosterone pathway. Okay, now, first and foremost, I'll tell you that by any means, if the blood volume has decreased, what stimulates the renin angiotensin is this one. Okay, so if I have to discuss about the RAS, RAAS, RAS, or the renin angiotensin aldosterone pathway. Okay, so is stimulated. Okay, it is stimulated by, we can say there are several factors. Okay, we can say one factor to be dehydration. If there is dehydration, okay, then RAS will be stimulated. That means RAS will be start operating. Okay, RAS will start operating, or the pathway will start operating. Next, we can say if there is sodium ion deficiency. Okay, if there is sodium ion deficiency, okay, then also it can stimulate the RAS pathway. Okay, next we can say that if there is blood loss, and that is severe blood loss, okay, blood loss, blood loss, or we can use the term hemorrhage, okay, blood loss, or we can use the term hemorrhage. Okay, now after all, whatever I've mentioned over here, like dehydration, like it can occur, say if you are having severe diarrhea, okay, or say I'm just writing the simple word loose motion. If you had loose motion, or say vomiting, okay, vomiting, okay, all these things can lead to loss of huge amount of fluid, okay, and that can lead to dehydration. Okay, so any of the three, that is dehydration, or we can say sodium deficiency, or we can say hemorrhage, that means a huge amount of blood loss, these all the three, okay, these the above three, the above three, or either of them will lead to, what will happen if either of the three incident will occur, it will lead to decrease in blood volume, right? Do you agree? It will lead to decrease of blood volume, because after all the fluid is decreasing in your body, and if your fluid level is decreasing, then it will be affecting blood, because we know that the blood plasma, the maximum portion of your blood plasma is composed of water. So if your water level is decreasing, it will be affecting your blood volume. Okay, now what happens, as I've just now told you, that this blood volume, okay, the blood volume is directly proportional to blood pressure. Hence, what we can see that lowering, okay, lowered blood volume will result in lowering of the blood pressure. Do you agree? Right? Lowering of the blood volume will result in lowering of the blood pressure. Now, this will stimulate the juxtaglomerular cells. How? Just as the way I've told you, that if there is a decrease in sodium level, if there is a decrease of water concentration, if there is huge blood loss, whatever, first and foremost, the macular tensor will perceive this thing, okay, and then this information will be sent to the juxtaglomerular cells, okay, and the juxtaglomerular cells will get stimulated, okay. Hence, the above situation, the above situation will stimulate, the above situation will stimulate the kidney, the kidney cells, that is the JG cells, okay, JG cells to secrete renin, okay. Just earlier I've mentioned, okay, that the JG cell secretes renin, so this will secrete the renin, okay. Now what happens when renin is secreted? So level of renin in blood is now increasing, okay. Now what is happening, this renin, okay, as it is increasing in blood, so in the circulation we are now finding renin, okay. This particular renin will be converting, renin converts angiotensinogen, okay. Now what is this angiotensinogen? Now, angiotensinogen is actually a plasma protein. Okay, it is a plasma protein. Now, from where all these plasma proteins come? As usual, plasma proteins, they are produced. So, produced by liver. Okay, so hence this angiotensinogen. Okay, this angiotensinogen is also a plasma protein produced by the liver. So what does renin do? Renin converts this angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Okay, clear? Renin will be converting the angiotensinogen, which is a plasma protein produced by liver, into angiotensin 1. Next, what will happen? Automatically in the blood, level of angiotensin 1 will increase. Okay, so level of angiotensin 1 in blood will increase. Okay, and it is moving in the circulation. Now what happens? We all agree that all the tissues of our body will be receiving blood, and that also oxygenated blood once at least in a particular cycle. Okay, in a particular cardiac cycle, the entire blood will be moving to all parts of your body, right? So when this blood is flowing through the lungs, when this blood, which is carrying angiotensin 1, is flowing through the lungs, then lungs, on experiencing this angiotensin 1, will secrete an enzyme which is known as angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay, done. So what will I say? As blood flows, as blood flows through the capillaries of lungs, okay, the enzyme that is angiotensin, the enzyme angiotensin converting enzyme, which in short form we can say ACE. So lung, when the blood flows through the capillaries of the lung, the enzyme and ACE, okay, which is given by the lungs, the enzyme ACE converts angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. Okay, now this angiotensin 1, which is converted to angiotensin 2, we say this angiotensin 2 is actually a hormone. Okay, so angiotensin 2, it is converted, which I am calling it to be a hormone. Okay, done. Now what happens? The level of angiotensin 2 in blood increases. Okay, agree? Angiotensin 2, it is repeatedly it is occurring now. So definitely the level of angiotensin 2 in blood will increase. Now what happens next? This angiotensin 2, its work is to stimulate the adrenal cortex. Okay, so I'll say this angiotensin 2 stimulates the adrenal cortex. Okay, now when adrenal cortex is stimulated, it is an endocrine gland. You agree? Okay, so adrenal cortex will secrete what? The hormone mineralocorticoids, and the major mineralocorticoids is known as the aldosterone. Okay, so it is when the adrenal cortex is stimulated. Okay, so they will secrete aldosterone. Aldosterone. What is aldosterone? It is the major mineralocorticoids. Okay, mineralocorticoids. So we know that the zona glomerulosa of adrenal cortex, they give mineralocorticoids, and the major mineralocorticoids is known as aldosterone, which is secreted on stimulation by the angiotensin 2, which is formed by conversion of angiotensin 1 with the help of an enzyme, angiotensin converting enzyme, when the blood flows through the lungs. And angiotensin 1, it is produced by the when renin moves on to the liver through circulation, then a plasma protein angiotensinogen, which is converted to angiotensin 1. Okay, so I hope till here everything is clear. Okay, so next, what is happening? So this aldosterone which is produced, what does it do? Definitely in the blood now, the level of aldosterone, level of aldosterone is increasing in blood. Agree? Okay. Level of aldosterone is gradually increasing in blood. Now this increasing level of aldosterone, okay, it is circulating also to the kidney. Okay. Increased level of aldosterone when circulates through the kidney, what it does, initiates, okay, or increases through the kidney. What happens then? Increases the reabsorption of sodium. Okay, what happens? Sodium ion reabsorption. Okay, sodium ion reabsorption increases when this aldosterone is circulating through the kidney. Now, what do you think? If sodium ion absorption is increasing, so what is the nature of sodium ion? It will pull water by osmosis. Okay, this leads to, hence this results in reabsorption of water. This results in reabsorption of water by osmosis. Agree? Okay, this enables reabsorption of water by osmosis. Now what happens? If water is reabsorbed, then what will happen? Less amount of water is allowed to get lost in the urine. Okay, so as a result, less amount of water is lost via urine. Okay, or it is concentrating the urine. Okay, and what is happening? This aldosterone, okay, it is stimulating increased secretion of potassium also. Okay, this aldosterone, it also stimulates the secretion of potassium. Now we all know sodium, which we know that the sodium, it is mostly present in high amounts in the extracellular fluid, and potassium is present in high amounts in intracellular, okay, cytosol. And we also know that in this nephron, okay, in this renal tubule, we know that the secretion of potassium occurs, secretion of potassium ion and hydrogen ion occurs, and reabsorption of sodium ion occurs. So this, after this reabsorption process, reabsorption of sodium ion, okay, aldosterone aldosterone will allow kidney to secrete potassium and hydrogen ions into urine. Okay, done. Now, this particular event, this is ultimately what is happening. This leads to again increased water reabsorption. Okay, and say if water is reabsorbed, okay, which results in increase of blood volume, right? Agree? And as I've told you, as blood volume is directly proportional, so blood pressure is also increasing. Hence, if your blood pressure drops owing to dehydration or blood loss, okay, or loss of sodium ions, okay, so deficiency of sodium ions, either of the cases, if your blood volume decreases and thus blood pressure decreases, they get balanced with this renin, angiotensin, aldosterone, this pathway. Okay, clear, understood. And like another thing which is done, that is this angiotensin 2. Okay, and I must mention about this also, angiotensin 2. Now again recall, how was angiotensin 2 formed? This angiotensin 2 was formed by conversion of angiotensin 1 by angiotensin converting enzyme. Do you remember? Just I've mentioned over here that this angiotensin converting enzyme, when the blood circulation was passing through the lungs, during that time angiotensin 1 got converted to angiotensin 2, and this angiotensin 1 was formed from angiotensinogen, which is a plasma protein by liver. Okay, done, clear. So this angiotensin 2 also stimulates okay, the contraction of the smooth muscles of the arterioles. Okay, of the arterioles. Now you all understand that if the arterioles muscle contraction occurs, what will happen? It will result, this results into vasoconstriction. That means the diameter of the blood vessels will decrease. It will result in vasoconstriction. Okay, now because of vasoconstriction of the arterioles, okay, this results in vasoconstriction of the arterioles. Okay, now if the diameter of the blood vessels decrease, this will also do what? Increase the blood pressure. Agree? Because suppose if you are having a room of this size and say you're having 20 people in this room, you're having 20 people in this room. Now say if I'm decreasing the size of the room and I have to accommodate 20 people, so what will happen? So far in this room 20 people were well spaced, isn't it so? Like now you are performing social distancing. They were maintaining social distancing when 20 people had to get accommodated within this room. Now when such 20 people are going to get accommodated into this small room, then no more story of social distancing. They will be very closely placed, isn't it so? They will become very closely placed. So similarly, when we are finding that the blood vessels constriction is occurring, that means blood is flowing through a very small space. Hence, the pressure exerted by the blood on the vessel wall will be more. We know pressure exerted by blood over the vessel wall is called the blood pressure. Hence, the blood pressure will increase on vasoconstriction. So these are the phenomena which is occurring in the RAS. Okay, and hence we can restore the blood pressure. Okay, we can restore the blood pressure again to the normal form. Okay, here see I have made a brief of the entire process. If you go through this diagram, you'll be able to understand it very well. Okay, so I'm putting this diagram for you over here. Okay, so see the entire process like dehydration, sodium deficiency, hemorrhage, which is leading to decrease in the blood volume. This this is resulting in decrease of the blood pressure. Now this decreased blood pressure is being perceived by the macula densa, which is stimulating the juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney to secrete renin. Now this increased level of renin, it is circulating in the blood, and when it is passing through the circulation, when it is passing through the liver, then with the influence of this enzyme renin, the angiotensinogen, which is a plasma protein secreted by liver, this angiotensinogen is getting converted to angiotensin 1, which again its level is increasing in the blood and it is circulating. Okay, it is circulating, and when this is passing through the lungs, then what is the lungs doing? The lungs is this over here, the lungs is giving your angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay, this angiotensin converting enzyme, what is it doing? The angiotensin converting enzyme, it is going to like this particular angiotensin converting enzyme, what is it doing? It is converting this angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. So it is forming angiotensin 2. Okay, it is forming the angiotensin 2. This angiotensin 2, it is leading to vasoconstriction. Okay, this angiotensin 2 which is formed, okay, this angiotensin 2 which is formed, it is one thing it will be doing, it is going to make the blood vessels to constrict, and another thing is that it is going to stimulate the adrenal cortex. When adrenal cortex is stimulated, the adrenal cortex will be giving what? It is going to give aldosterone. Okay, the adrenal cortex will be giving aldosterone. Okay, and this aldosterone, what is it going to do? It is going to work over the kidney. This aldosterone, it is going to work over the kidney, and what is it going to do? It is going to increase the sodium ion reabsorption. Okay, it is going to increase the sodium ion reabsorption, which is going to again result in increase of the water reabsorption, also water retention will occur. Okay, and also secretion. Okay, secretion of potassium ions and hydrogen ions into the urine will occur. Okay, these will lead to an increase in the blood volume. Okay, this will lead to an increase of the blood volume, which is again going to lead to the increase of the this will lead to increase of the blood pressure. Okay, so it is very clear, I hope to you. I hope it is very clear to you now. Okay, and please let me know if you're having any doubt. Okay, so thank you very much for participating in the class. Bye children.